today we are going to talk about something that's quite personal to me, and that is miscarriage. So many women go through it. You look at sort of Instagram accounts like ours and you think like, oh, they're so happy, their babies are so healthy, they probably didn't have any problems getting pregnant. And I wanted to share my story with you. Only now do I feel strong enough that I can talk about it because, you know, I've got Zach. The way I sort of look at it is without my miscarriages, I wouldn't have Zach. Which is only something I can say now because when you're going through it, it is the worst thing in the world. But I wanted to tell you my story. So I got pregnant for the first time sort of straight away. Tried 2 months and I got pregnant straight away, and we were like so happy and, you know, really were celebrating. And we told Adam and Holly before I'd even had a scan. We went out for dinner with them and we were like, we've got something to tell you, you know, I'm pregnant. And I even told all my family. We stood up and told everybody at a big sort of family event. I got things made for my mum, like, you're going to be a grandma. And I was quite naive. I didn't really understand the risks. I sort of just thought, oh, I'm pregnant, great. And I started getting a little bump, and we did sort of pictures each week, 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, because I found out like straight away. And I went to get my scan. I think I was about 8 weeks pregnant, and the man that scanned me said, you know, you're a bit early. I can see the sac and I can see everything forming, but there's no heartbeat yet. Come back next week. It just needs a week more to develop. So we were like, okay, fine. No, I felt really nauseous, had all the pregnancy symptoms. And we went back the next week and everybody was like, good luck. You know, we told everyone that we were going. And I got on the bed and I
remember that, because I remember the day before you went for your scan, I was like so excited for you both, and I just,
awful. And I got on the bed, and they did an internal scan because you can see a lot more because, you know, you're very early on at that stage. And he said, the way he said it, he was like, I'm really sorry, but this isn't a successful pregnancy. Your body still thinks it's pregnant, so you're going to have to be put to sleep and have a procedure to remove the sac. And I was like, what? You know, like, I'd picked out my interior for my nursery, we were talking about names, like, it was like
horrific.
I just didn't expect it. And I was like, what do you mean? That there's nothing there? And he was like, no, the baby started growing and then it stopped. And it's this thing called a missed miscarriage.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people actually
I had never heard of it.
Understand about the whole process. And
I thought that a miscarriage was bleeding.
Yeah,
I thought that's how you know you've had a miscarriage. And it's called a missed miscarriage. So it's where you are pregnant and your body behaves like it's pregnant. So your boobs get big and you get nauseous and all the hormones are going as they normally would, but the baby doesn't grow properly. And unless you remove the sac and the placenta and everything, it will continue to grow, and I think it can be quite dangerous.
What will happen though? Did they say what will happen if it continued to grow?
And he said to me, I need to book you in for this procedure, and I was totally in denial. I didn't believe him, so I called my doctor. I called a private doctor and said, I want you to just double check. I don't believe this man. I hated the man. I thought it was his fault. And my doctor said to me, you shouldn't just have that procedure. We're going to do blood tests to check that your hormone levels are rising and all this stuff.
So all this hope, like they gave me hope again.
And I ended up having blood tests every 2 days, and my hormones were rising. And she was like, let's do a scan in another week. Maybe there'll be a heartbeat then. And I ended up waiting another 2.5 weeks, and there was no heartbeat. And I just didn't. I thought maybe it would grow. I was really just hopeful and so sad and upset. And I ended up going back to the original man, and he did another scan. And he said, listen, there's no baby, now it's dangerous because the placenta's kicked in and you need to get this removed tomorrow. So I went to hospital and was put to sleep, and they removed the contents of everything that was inside. Yeah,
because I always thought that maybe they gave you a pill, or like, I don't know, like it's
you can have
more.
No, there's no pill. You have, well, every miscarriage is different.
Yeah, that's what I mean, like there's so much more to it.
Yeah, and so that happened, and obviously at that point, like, your whole world crashes down. You suddenly think, like, what if I can't have a baby? And suddenly, because you can't have, you know, because you can't have it, you want it even more. And every thought is about why I can't get pregnant, what happened, why, you know, is it my fault? When it happened, you know, you still have pregnancy hormones and they still drop like when you have a baby. So you go through like the depression and feeling like shit. And the only thing I could think about is I need to get pregnant again. Like, okay, I've got to get pregnant again. So I straight away, I should have waited, but I was like, no, I'm doing it again. So about a month later, we tried again and got pregnant straight away again. And this time we didn't tell anybody other than our parents. And I went for a scan again, and like I was so nervous, so anxious, like it was just horrible. And it was like the association with getting on the bed and having a scan, it was just, it had been bad news, so I, you know, was really anxious. I again had all the symptoms of pregnancy and got on the bed. He did a scan.
How far along were you this time?
About 8 weeks. And he said to me, there's no heartbeat again, and it's the same thing that had previously happened. I waited a week because I thought maybe it will develop, because sometimes people do go too early and there isn't a heartbeat, and then they go back the next week and there is a heartbeat. So I went back the week later and he said, I'm really sorry, you know, the same thing's happened again. And he said, I'm going to refer you to a miscarriage specialist, which is like the best thing that he could have done. And to anyone watching this video, you know, yes, miscarriages can be just freak of nature and they're so common, but for me that was the best thing that could have happened, because I finally was like, thank you, like someone can help me. And I did have to have the same procedure again and be put to sleep and have everything removed, which is obviously so traumatic.
Horrible.
And they said to me, would you like us to take the contents away, so the sac and what was left of the baby away, to test it and try and find out what was wrong with it? And I was like, well, yeah. And I think we had to pay a little bit of money to have them to test it, but at that point, like, your mental health is more important.
Messes with you so much, doesn't it? It must, like.
So it came back that there was a chromosomal abnormality, so it wouldn't have formed. That there has to be a certain amount of chromosomes in the sperm and the egg, and there was too many chromosomes, so it couldn't have formed a baby.
That's another thing that I was thinking. Like with miscarriages, you think a miscarriage, like you know, basics, but there is so much more to it. Like what causes them, and what are the problems.
It's such a miracle that it even works. The sperm and an egg makes a baby, and there has to be a certain amount of chromosomes in the sperm and the egg to make 2 legs, 2 hands, a working brain, a heart. You know, it has to be it has to fit together like a glove, and it didn't. And it was really sad because when they sent me the report, they said male, like it was a boy.
Oh,
which was the worst thing. So I was like crying my eyes out. Yeah, they said it was a boy.
Oh, that makes it more like real.
And the man that we went to see, the specialist, said, and I remember, sorry, it was the first, we were moving into this house the day I found out, and I remember I was just laying on the bed, I couldn't unpack any boxes, I was such a mess, and like my hormones were all over the place. And once I'd had the procedure, we then went back to the specialist, and he said to me, right, I'm going to check. He did loads of blood tests on me, and he checked my husband's sperm. And you assume that it's you carry the baby, it's your responsibility, it's your body.
The woman always blames herself.
If you have a miscarriage, it's your fault, because your body failed, or your body can't carry a baby, or, you know, your hormones are all over the place. So I assumed it was my fault. And when we received the tests back, he called me and said, okay, so I know what the problem is. And I was like, right, like so happy that he'd found the problem out. And he said, everything is fine with you, it's actually your husband. And I was like, what? Like, what do you mean it's my husband? And they said that they checked his sperm, and he had this thing called sperm fragmentation, which a lot of sportsmen can get because when they're running a lot, or people that use a sauna a lot, because there's a lot of steam around that area and it can damage the sperm. And I was like, so what do we do? And he's a very healthy guy, he doesn't drink a lot, you know, he does exercise, but there's no reason why he should have that. And they said, you know, we're going to give you some like herbal vitamins for 6 months, go on them, try and be as healthy as you can. And I thought, like, herbal vitamins, like that's not really, what, I mean, I take them every day, nothing changes, I don't look any different, they don't help me. How are herbal vitamins going to help him? And I was also nervous because he's a man as well, and you think like,
are they actually going to be reliable?
I wish it was me so that I could make sure I did it, but he did, and he took them. I then at that point was like, do you know what, my body's been through so much, like mentally I just don't want to get pregnant again now.
Wow, yeah.
And we had to wait 6 months anyway, which was good because I wasn't sort of panicking like I've got to do it again now.
Gave you a bit of a break mentally as well.
Yeah, and we had gone away for the weekend, and we actively were not trying because I didn't want to be pregnant because I was scared about it all. And I know when people say this, it annoys me because you don't just get pregnant.
Cliche.
You try to be pregnant, but we had one little blip, and I was like, do you know what?
It's fine. It's not. I won't be pregnant.
I didn't even think about it, and then I just felt really nauseous one day and went and got a test, and I was pregnant, and I was like, shit. Like, I don't want to be pregnant because I don't want to have a miscarriage. My only association with pregnant was having a miscarriage. We hadn't even had the results back from his test, so I didn't know that his sperm was even going to be okay.
You want to go through that all again, like, God forbid.
And I was in such a wreck because I thought, oh no, like, I'm just going to have another miscarriage, and I thought I was just really nervous about it.
You hadn't had the results back?
No, we hadn't had the results at all. We went for our first scan, and again, in the first scan, they said to me, there's no heartbeat.
Oh.
And I just was like ruined, such a mess, and I was like, do you know what? Like, I shouldn't have done it, you know, what a nightmare. Like, I didn't know why, I don't know, I just was a nervous wreck. And on the way back from that scan, we got a FaceTime call in the car from Adam and Holly.
I was like, we're having a baby! And I remember Sophie's face was like, what? And I remember thinking, why is she not like, there was something wrong. I could tell there was something wrong, and I ended up, I actually ended up walking away from the FaceTime because I had a feeling that something wasn't right. Adam carried on talking, and then when they put the phone down, I said to Adam, I was like, oh no, I have a feeling that there's an issue somewhere, and like maybe something's happened again. And
yeah, and it's the worst thing. Girls out there that have had a miscarriage, when your friends are pregnant,
I can't.
You are so happy for them. I would never, ever, ever take that away from anybody. Like,
you can't help how you feel.
But it's just, you have such mixed emotions because you are so happy for them, but you are so sad for yourself, and you're like, so they can have it and we can't.
Yeah.
And I remember it was like 9 o'clock at night. We'd gone after work. We were exhausted and drained, and that was
the
really
last thing you
hard
needed to hear. Oh.
for us. And during that week, we got James's results back, and they'd said that his sperm was perfect. And the doctor did say to us, come back in a week because you're too early for us to see a heartbeat. So we were like, well, maybe when we go back next week there will be a heartbeat. But obviously my association with it was that there wouldn't be, but I was trying to be hopeful, and I couldn't believe that the vitamins had worked and now he was perfect. So the week later we went back, and I got on the bed and I was just sweaty and my heart was racing, and he was like, yeah, there's a heartbeat.
Aww.
And I was it was like, I don't know how to explain it. My heart sank, and I was like, is there really? Can I see it? What does it look like? And then he showed it to us, and it was obviously just a little blip. And
how far were you then?
I think about 8 weeks. And even then, even when there was a heartbeat, I was so traumatized by the whole thing that I was like, what? Like, when is it safe? What happens now? And like, what can I do? Can I do anything different? And he said, don't do anything different. Go away. Come back at 12 weeks, and that will be, you know, you're safe after 12 weeks. But I couldn't. I came back every week, every single week.
I remember you
8, 9, 10, 11, and then 12. I was like, 11 I went back, and I was like, is it okay? And he said, everything's okay. And then around 11 weeks I started bleeding.
Oh yeah.
And it was Christmas Eve, started bleeding, and I called the man that I was seeing on Christmas Eve, and I was like, I'm bleeding, I don't know what to do. And I remember I called the hospital and I said, I'm bleeding, can I come in for a scan? And the NHS hospital were like, come in, you're probably miscarrying, we'll help you we'll make you feel comfortable. And I was like, I don't want it. So I thought I was miscarrying, and I went to see, bless him, he let me come and see him on Christmas Day, and I went in and I was bleeding, and it wasn't really, really heavy. It was brown, spotting, and a little bit red. And he went and gave me a scan. I was waiting for him to say nothing was there.
That's making me feel sick. Oh.
It was awful. And he said everything's fine. And I was like, sorry, where's the bleeding coming from? And he said, I don't know. Some people bleed in pregnancy and they're absolutely fine. And yeah, it was just, I mean, and I was so anxious the whole time, and as soon as and then, you know, everything was okay, and as soon as he started moving, I felt like I couldn't feel him. But anyway, the rest of the pregnancy, I was anxious, but you know, he was totally healthy. He was born a little bit early, but absolutely fine and healthy. The way I see it is, if I hadn't have had those miscarriages, I wouldn't have him.
Yeah.
And if my mum hadn't have had the miscarriages that she had, I wouldn't be here, and that would be a real shame. So,
That would be a real shame.
a real shame. And you know, I'm laughing and joking about this now because I can, because I feel like I've come through it. I know that when women who have had miscarriages or are going through it watch this video, they'll feel distraught and feel how I felt. But I want you to know that, you know,
there's help out there as well.
There's help out there, and you can have a positive ending. Everybody's different, every situation is different, and I went through probably a year of absolute hell. But, you know, I want to just let people know that there is, you know, there can be a positive ending. And when I went through it, I was searching on YouTube for videos of people's stories, and I wanted to see that somebody had a miscarriage and then got pregnant, for me to feel like it could happen for me.
Yeah.
So I hope this helps you somehow.